guess I shedded some tears. I told myself time and time again, this time I'm gonna win. But another fight, things ain't right, see I'm losing again. Takes a fool to lose twice, start all over again. Think I better let it go. Looks like another love TKO. Think I better let it go. What you say about it? Looks like another love TKO. Try to take control of the love took control of me. Caused me to lose all sense of time, ever change of mind. Taking the bumps and the bruises and all the things of a two-time loser. See, I try to hold on, my faith is gone. It's just another sad song. Think I better let it go. Looks like another love TKO. Oh, think I better let it go. What you say about it? Looks like another love TKO. To control of me, cause you to lose all sense of time, every change of mind, taking the bumps and the bruises and all the things of a two-time loser. See, I try to hold on, my faith is gone, just another sad song. Think I better let it go. If I know what's good for me, well, I couldn't stand this pain much longer. Think I better let it go. What you say about it? Well, I think I better let it go, let it go, let it go. Oh, sometimes I want to say, I want to say, oh, baby, oh, baby. I can't stand this pain much longer. I can't stand this pain much longer. I think I better.
And a very warm welcome to CRMK on a Saturday morning. It is, of course, the Grumpy Old Men. I'm Mike Barry.
I'm Bob Bluffield.
I'm Kev Slaymaker.
And I'm Alan Mallyon.
And together we are
The Grumpy Old Men.
Yeah, we are the Grumpy Old Men indeed. And I've got to apologise this morning to, well, I have done already, but I'll do it on air live and to the world, and that is to Alan Mallyon, because apparently he got a real ticking off from me last week over something on the show, and he's been moping all week actually, and he's just stopped sobbing, I think, so you're feeling a bit better now, eh?
I'm beginning to feel emotionally readjusted, but you know,
feel a bit better if you spoke to the microphone as well. You know, so.
It's been tough. I'm been upset, Mike. You got to understand that one word from you, and
I know.
You know, grown men quiver. They quiver. I've been quivering.
I know. All right. Okay.
You're a quiver.
That's pretty good. You know,
down your backbone.
Yeah. There we go.
Quivers down my backbone.
Listen, we have got a lot to get through today. We really have, because there's so many issues that have come about. Some local, some national, some international issues. So hopefully we will cover the whole of the global world today. Yes, that's it. And Mr. Mallyon's smiling now, so I think it's probably because he's had his second can of iron brew or whatever it is he has, you know. So, and he's got some Jaffa cakes in front of him as well, which
tradition.
Just tradition.
Back to tradition.
He lives on Jaffa cakes. Right. Okay. Shall we get rid of Uber first? Because it's interesting non-story last night, I thought, on the radio and the television, because they said that, you know, TfL, Transport for London, have withdrawn the licence for Uber, so 40,000 drivers out of work and all this sort of thing. And Alan knows, because he has sat on the council committees the same as I have with licensing for taxis and that. And,
I have indeed.
As soon as the licence is withdrawn, the first thing that the operator does is bungs in an appeal, and the minute that happens, which has already happened, then the company is allowed to operate until such times as the appeal is held, isn't it?
Yeah. So they can carry on as normal.
You can carry on as normal.
And you can still use Uber today.
Yes, that's right.
And actually, I suspect that there will be political shenanigans that will require the appeal to be postponed for quite some significant time, and it will probably be many months before the appeal comes to a committee.
I think you're absolutely right there, and it's one of those things that there are already 200,000 signatures asking for it to, you know, not to happen. So that's 200,000 people in London, you know.
What have they meant to have done? Why have they revoked their licence? What's the problem?
Well, apparently they've got unsafe drivers, they've got drivers who are not necessarily insured, and they don't keep checks on the drivers and all this sort of thing, you know. So it's all, but I think really there's a lot of politics behind this, you know. I think the black cabs in London have,
the black cab movement.
they're not happy about it. I've used Uber in London actually, and it's very convenient, it's very quick, it's very good. You know, you stand outside or near any of the big stations like Waterloo, in fact, as I did, staying at the Union Jack Club in London, which is just outside it. And, you know, the black cabs, there are hundreds of them, but they're all zotting past you, and they haven't got their for-hire notices up. So you just sit on your little phone and go to the Uber app, and, you know, in 2 minutes there's a Uber car coming.
The thing is that the black cabs cannot really continue to play King Canute. The technology's coming that's making it more accessible. I mean, at the end of the day, Uber is a sensible way forward. I mean, it's maximising the use of a vehicle. It's going to be economically viable. It provides drivers, you know, the black cab knowledge is a thing of the past, really. It's a bit like hot metal, you know, it's not needed anymore. It's a bit like that sort of skill that the printers had. I think what we've got is a confrontation between the old way of doing things and the new way of doing things. I think the new way is going to win.
I think you're right, because at the end of the day, I mean, the knowledge, and I was brought up in London, so, you know, everybody who's had anything to do with London, you know, vividly remembers, and it still happens, the guy running around on his Honda 50 with a little clipboard on the front, you know, and then he's riding up and down the streets and that, you know.
Lost.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a simple question here? And excuse my ignorance, guys, but up until relatively recently, I'd never heard of Uber.
Oh, that's right.
And from what you're just intimating, could you just explain exactly what Uber is then?
Well, Uber is an American company, and it's actually worldwide. And what they actually do is they employ individuals, people like yourself. You know, if you've got a four-door car, then you can become a self-employed taxi driver with Uber. It's like a private hire, you know. And yet, but you charge half the price of normal.
Right. I can understand the concerns then.
Well, it's not just half the price because it's variable pricing.
Well,
in busy times, it's a bit like EasyJet. The price of the ticket goes up. But the main advantage with Uber, really, I believe, is the fact that you have an app on your phone. You can see the vehicles on a map actually moving in real time. You select your vehicle, and that vehicle comes towards you, and you can see it when it's a mile away, half a mile away, or however the distance is. You can actually see it, and you see it arriving in real time, so that you can meet with your driver, and it gives you the same experience that you would get from a black cab or a mini cab, just more conveniently.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll get our research this morning just to look up comparable taxi fares from, say, Euston to the Royal Albert Hall, all right? And it will tell you, and it will, because I've done it myself, and it will come up with the black cab will be so much, the Uber will be so much, and the bus and tube will be so.
Have we got many Ubers in Milton Keynes, out of interest?
There is Uber apparently is moving to Milton Keynes, but you've got a number of the enterprising local taxi firms, and I think we are blessed in Milton Keynes with the proliferation of excellent taxi services.
I would totally disagree with you there because
I use them all the time, and I think they're marvellous.
Yeah, but we're right on the border with Northants, and Northants' licensing authority is far lacking in what Milton Keynes.
Oh, that's a whole different story.
Well, it's not a whole different story because these guys you've only got to pick up the paper every week in the local papers, and there's all these guys who've been done for blagging, which is taking unlicensed fare or unrequested fare.
Okay.
I can
update you a bit.
The police are pulling them off the side of the road because they got bald tyres and goodness knows what else. And the drivers as well. The drivers that are coming up from Luton, because quite a lot of them live in Luton, and they're coming up, they're working 18, 20 hours a day, and then they're going home, they're having a couple of hours skip, and then they're coming back again.
Some of the driving standards are awful.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's to do with the court. The court made a ruling that are allowing people who are registered with an adjacent authority to operate in Milton Keynes. I think it was a bad ruling. I think that only taxis registered in Milton Keynes, but apparently the regulations determine that there's actually a radius. Providing you're registered within a radius of a certain area, you can work that area, and that would include now South Beds, South Northants, and a couple of other areas that issue taxi licences. So the individual council control, Milton Keynes Council is more expensive, so the individual council control over the taxis around Milton Keynes has changed. Now, what's also changed is if you have a company which, like Skyline, for instance, or an example, they have drivers that are now registered in the surrounding authorities, not just Milton Keynes. I think it's wrong.
Yes, so do I. I could agree more with you. And they're buying up other companies as well. I mean, Skyline have just bought up Easy Cab or something in.
That's sad because Easy Cab I think are good. Skyline I have doubts about.
One thing I've noticed about the taxi drivers in Milton Keynes is I think their driving is getting worse. I think it's frankly appalling what I come across on the way to work every morning. And if people are coming in from different towns and getting involved, well, they need to improve their driving skills.
Yeah, it's quite frightening, really, when you watch some of them, because
inside.
Well, I think the trouble is, again, because they're using, and as Alan mentioned, the fact that there's sat navs and that sort of thing now. But I have seen taxi drivers going round roundabouts, and they're actually looking at their sat nav. They're in the wrong lane, because they say, "Oh, well, we've got to turn left here," but then all of a sudden they look at the sat nav, and the girl's obviously sitting there saying, "Turn right, turn right." And they turn right in front of you, and I think it's.
I do think the general standard of driving in Milton Keynes is going down, and it's getting worse. And I think and it's clear because sometimes it's blatantly obvious that the person is not a local, somebody that's recently come to Milton Keynes because they don't know how to drive around roundabouts. They're driving on some sort of international licence,
yes, or any licence at all.
Well, I don't believe there's that many people driving without a licence. But I do believe they drive with an international licence, and there are some issues relating to that. And I think that you can't stop people driving on an international licence. I mean, if we're travelling abroad, we want to travel